Hi everyone. Today I'll be looking at what are often termed chord synonyms and their labelling. Although for ease of discussion I'll continue to use the term chord synonyms, it can be misleading. In the Collins English Dictionary, for example, a synonym is described as a word that means the same as another word, such as bucket and pail. In other words, in this example, the words bucket and pail can be interchanged without any loss of meaning. With so-called chord synonyms, however, while the notes in each chord and often the function of each chord is the same, depending on the context, the chords may have the same or different roles in a work and therefore different labels. This chord, for example, if used as the final cadential chord at the end of a work in C major, would be labelled the tonic of C major and fulfills that role. If it is found in an interior cadence in C major, it may be labelled as the submediant in that key, creating an interrupted cadence, or an inverted tonic chord, creating a perfect cadence. Both the submediant and the tonic have the same tonic function and are often exchanged. Therefore, in this context, it is more difficult to determine the chord's label, especially as even their roles are similar, with both functioning as a cadential chord with a tonic function. While an in-depth discussion of chord function is beyond the scope of this video, I will briefly outline each group. As well as their scale degree names such as tonic, supertonic, subdominant, etc., chords are also grouped by their function within a key. For example, the tonic, mediant, and submediant chords are all said to have a tonic function, as they all share notes in common and in some contexts are essentially interchangeable. The supertonic and subdominant chords share notes in common and have a predominant, also known as a subdominant function, meaning that they typically move either immediately or soon on to chords with a dominant function. And the dominant and leading note chords share notes in common and have a dominant function, meaning they will typically move towards the tonic. Chord synonyms typically involve extended chords, although, as we'll see, chords with fewer notes may also be found. Probably the most frequently cited chord synonyms are the major sixth and its relative minor seventh, and the minor sixth and minor seventh flat 5 chords. As expected, each pair contain the same notes. We've already seen how context may determine which label best suits a chord at any given moment. With the previous C major 6 and A minor 7 example, we saw how, because they have the same tonic function, in some contexts labeling is more difficult. The minor 6th and minor 7th flat 5 chords may share the same subdominant function when being used as the subdominant and supertonic in A minor, for example, or may have different functions as the supertonic and leading note in C major. As we've seen, a different function will typically clarify the chord's role. sus2 and sus4 chords, whose root notes are a fifth apart, are also synonymous. For example, C sus2 and G sus4 chords have the same notes, but in C major they have different functions, and in G major also. Because they contain the same notes, when forming a perfect cadence in C major, for example, the bass line or another instrument would need to supply the root movement of the progression. With extended suspended chords, the number of chord synonyms are increased. For example, the following C7 sus4 chord, depending on context, may also be labelled as an F sus2 add 11, F sus4 add 9, G minor 7 add 11, and B flat sus2 6 chord. 6/9 chords also present multiple chord synonyms. This F6/9 chord, for example, may also be labelled C sus2 6 add 11 and D minor 7 add 11 chord. The musical texture may also contribute to the often difficult task of labelling chord synonyms. For example, this chord, even without the inclusion of the bass part, may have two labels, either as the submediant major 6th or the subdominant minor 7th chords. Including the bass's D note with the chord adds C minor 9 and D7 flat 9 flat 13 to the list of possible labels. Here in the key of G minor, the C minor 9 would have a subdominant function, while the D7 would have a dominant function. Both chords, however, in this context may move to the tonic chord, creating either a plagal or perfect cadence. Along with factors already discussed, often it comes down to how we hear a particular chord, which ultimately determines how we label it. I hope you found this useful. Thanks for watching. See you next time.